is it UMR poll suggesting the cannabis referendum is tight. Now, you two have very different opinions on that, and I suspect
I don't know if we actually do, John. That's another thing that I think has perhaps been... So you have 80% of the general public out there who have all used cannabis in the past. Have you used cannabis?
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got Paula on record, we've got myself on record. Right now, you have 100% of this table, 3 professionals in positions of power and influence who have all admitted to having used cannabis in the past.
Come on.
I mean, none of the grown-ups I know haven't smoked dope at some stage. Then why should we criminalise people? Isn't it a
But then we're not criminalising people.
There's so much wrong with that.
So we've all kind of admitted to having used this substance, and Paul is saying criminalisation doesn't work. We shouldn't be criminalising people. So if you decriminalise, you remove criminal penalties from people who are using the substance, but you're completely silent on the issue of where they get that cannabis from. So you're still able to supply to young people. There's no potency controls, and there is the kind of proliferation of the substance as there has been under.
By the way, we've probably all got speeding tickets at different times and broken the law by going over the speed limit.
But it's about the efficacy of that law. But on the speeding one, and I get this one relatively frequently, we don't ban cars.
That's wrong.
We regulate how people are supposed to use those cars. And this is the difference between an approach that sensibly regulates and says, hey, if you step outside of the bounds of what evidence base says puts other people in danger or puts yourself in danger, don't do it.
The one thing I'd add is what we're not addressing is the drug driving, what actual legalisation might mean for that. Well, we're not actually. There's nothing in the bill about it.
There's a work
whatsoever.
program. Well, I mean, drug driving is currently illegal.
This government's damn good at work programs, but not...
Do you think marijuana usage will go up if the vote is yes in the referendum?
I believe that there's a high risk of normalisation and that it could go up in our young people.
Do you think it will go up?
That's not what the evidence says. The evidence shows in states across the US it has remained stagnant, and in Canada it's gone down.
Okay. Okay, we have to go. Have you had a guts with New Zealand First?
I think that this is exactly their playbook. They want us to be talking about them.
Yeah, good point. Let's not.
Cut play.
Paula Bennet, what? I mean, this is a stupid question because I was going to say what's worse, not being in government or being in government with New Zealand First. Of course you want to be in government, and the point Chloe Swarbrick is making is that the Greens have got some stuff across the line. But how do you manage New Zealand First at this stage of the electoral cycle when they need to oppose stuff in order to have a brand?
Yeah, well, they're not managing them. And they haven't kind of managed them well. Well, I believe that Labor should have been negotiating better with New Zealand First in the last 2 years and not leaving it to this crunch point when, as you say, they were obviously going to be more political. And I think it's done a disservice to the Greens because they are very upfront about what they stand for. I may not always agree with what they're saying, but by crikey, you know what they stand for and they're very clear in it. I think they've been a very fair coalition partner, and that they've held their nose a few times, I'm sure, and voted for things that wouldn't have gone for them. And yet New Zealand First play these political games, and that's not fair.
Chloe Swarbrick, I don't know if I've ever said this out loud before, so let's all brace ourselves, but I think Paula Bennet just made a good point.
Honestly, we've found agreement multiple times on a number of things, actually, John.
Let's have a public holiday.
Not the least.
Paula Bennet and Chloe Swarbrick, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was a fantastic panel. I really appreciate you both coming in. Thank you.
It was great debate.
Yeah.
And it is true we have to hold our politicians to account and our government to account. But they have, in my opinion, recognised their failings. And they're trying to block those holes. This is a huge thing that's going on around the world, right? And we've eliminated it in our community. I think that needs to be celebrated.
Say sorry. Yeah, she couldn't take responsibility for it by saying sorry, and I think the Prime Minister should have done that.
Words do matter.
Yeah.
Right.